Hey everybody, welcome to askLRR for September 2020. There's been a lot of askLRR on the channel actually this month. but that was all for PAX. That was all extracurricular askLRR with 3 different panels for North America, Europe, and Australia, broadly speaking. But really anyone can enjoy them. But this is the one that we said we would do for September 2020, and I'm here. I'm Graham. Hello. I'm here with Serge.
Hello.
And Benjamin Wheeler.
Ahoy.
And this is the episode of askLRR where we take the questions from you, the YouTube members, in the monthly post where you get to ask us questions to do on askLRR. And it's 3 different folks every time, and this time it's us. Hello. A reminder that everything that we do is supported directly by you, whether it is being a member here on the youtube.com/loadingreadyrun or on our Patreon, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, or subscribing on our Twitch, or buying our t-shirts, or however it is that you do it. Practically everything comes directly from you, so thank you. We really appreciate it. Let's jump right into some questions. Question 1, is it possible to get closed captioning up on the Twitch streams? I know it may be difficult with streaming from many different location setups right now, but it is an accessibility feature that would be very much appreciated. This is a question from Wondermoo, and there's a very easy answer. Yes. I'm kind of embarrassed that we didn't already have this, but it's, I believe, just a Twitch extension that we can have on the channel, and then it's optionally there or not if people want it, and it will add closed captions to the streams. So
that's sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
There's an amazing thing about that feature is just what you were saying, is that if people don't want them, they can easily turn it off too. So it's not even as if people are like, oh, there's words on the stream I don't want to see. You're like, all right, just click a button and they're hidden. Just win-win.
Yeah, I don't even know. I assume I am betting there, by the time you're seeing this will be active already, but I assume that there are different extensions to choose from, and there's ways to have them opt in or opt out or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do that. We'll probably do the same as the YouTube channel, where they're opt in, because they're on all of our YouTube videos, and they're not custom handwritten. And with Twitch even, they're being done live, which is even more impressive. And, so it won't be perfect, but it will at least be helpful. And so thank you for asking, because I don't know, just a complete oversight that they weren't there already. So there we are.
Be real, I don't have it on my channel, and I probably should too. I mean, I think it's the sort of thing that as sort of able-bodied privileged people we can kind of sleep on, and it's not ever malicious, just like, of course.
Yeah. So all right, next question. What's your favorite kind of dog? My girlfriend says Serge seems like the type of person who squeals when they see a corgi.
Have you ever watched a corgi try and chase a ball? It's just like, it tries so hard, and then sometimes they're a little too top heavy, and they finally succeed in catching the ball, especially when they're young, and they just like flip because they're like, yes, center of gravity. Oh no, I've made a mistake.
It's not so much running though. Like, you used the word running, right? It's more just like a very tiny fluffy seesaw being like repeatedly slammed on each side for a corgi.
Corgis, I mean, they ambulate, they move. There's a way that they get around this world, yes. But I don't know that it's not really running. It's like doing the worm all the time, just like.
They can zoom. They got some hustle. Like, they try.
No,
they try. All right, but like actual favorite kind of dogs, I have a tendency to like small dogs with jowls. The more jowl, the more I just want to go up and just like do this, the better the dog. For example, I don't know if you've ever watched a basset hound run in slow motion. I'll just laugh until I cry. Like, yeah, give me jowls. That's what I want in a dog.
I mean, I am a big fan of corgis. Like small dogs, but not like the yippy dogs. Though I did see a Norfolk Terrier once that was like the cutest dog I've ever seen in my life. But I mean, you know, like the big charismatic fluffy ones like huskies and samoyeds are also amazing. Dogs do not interface with my lifestyle well, which is why we have cats. But I am not, I am not a cat person to the exclusion of dogs. All dogs are good dogs, just not in my house.
Yeah, I just really like dogs.
Well, you're the only person amongst the three of us who has a dog.
Yeah, I have a Boston Terrier that is also potentially part goblin. So I like those dogs. Like I love Bostons. I enjoy the company of a French bulldog and whatnot, but pugs, those kind of things. I feel bad for them slightly because again, breathing issues and all that. But like my dog goes from when I look at her, I go like, God, you're an absolutely disgusting creature. To like a second later being like, oh my God, I will die for you. You're so cute. But I really, my favorite and what I really want is either a Chow Chow or a Shar Pei. Wow. I want a big
them wrinkles.
dog that can beat the crap out of me. Like I want, I just want like a gigantic, like, oh my God, are you actually just like a bear or like a lion or a combination of them? But they also don't really, those types of dogs do not mesh well with my lifestyle as well. It's a lot cuter when it's like, oh, a little dog I can pick up and put on my lap. Hey, stream, look at this. Then like getting tackled off my chair by a dog that's like, hey, you haven't paid attention to me in like a minute. Please do so.
I straight up did not know you had a dog.
Oh, yeah. Her name's Piglet, nicknamed Pig, which is her real name's Pig. We call her Piglet while people ask what her name is because that can generate a couple of odd looks from
like, wait,
people.
You named your dog Pig? You're like, I promise you it wasn't an insult.
Yeah, if the person that asks is born before 1970, it's Piglet. If it's born after, it's usually Pig. Or Piggy, which is like a subtle JoJo's reference. But yeah. Oh, yeah. She's a delight.
You'd just be like, it's the pig. You named your dog Pig? Yeah, wait till you meet my pig.
Yeah. What's your pig name? Cat.
Aardvark. Whoa. What kind of menagerie you got going on over there?
Everything, it was an awkward scenario. We're lining up the spreadsheet to name the animals, but we were like one column off, so it's just a mess and takes too long to fix now, so whatever.
Yeah, dog named Pig. There we go. All right, next up we have Ben. Being more or less the newest member of LRR, what has it been like for you? You at home can read ahead. We'll take each of these sentences at a time. This is all from Pinball Witch. Let's start there.
So part of it is that I've known all of you for like a decade plus by now. So that part was just kind of like, these are the same people I've known for X amount of years. But then the whole like, hey, I should do content creation. And then the whole, oh my God, this is actually happening. Was great because not often do people have resources in their grasp of people that they know and whose company they enjoy to be like, hey, how do you do thing? Please help. This is chaos. So yeah, it was, I mean, it felt very subtle, but I mean, hey, Ant-Man and aka Paul Rudd ended up in the Avengers movies in the end. So, the prophecy was fulfilled.
What a reference there.
So Pinball Witch continues, Serge, as someone who's been around for quite a while, but definitely increased in activity more as time went on, what about you?
So this is interesting and something I've been reviewing increasingly is how time is so weird. Great English, Serge. So let's talk about this in some numbers. Some of my first things with Loading Ready Run were in like late 2013, early 2014.
Wow.
Which is 6-7 years from now, which is kind of absurd. And it started from, hey, I have friends I play Magic with who turns out some people like care a great deal about them, to, oh, hey, this is kind of neat. I'm now occasionally being in videos. And then there was this really weird period of like, is this my job? And now it's like, hey, guess this is my job. It was like this weird spectrum from like no involvement to literally my full-time gig. And it was just like, boop, 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 boop. And it wasn't ever really deliberate, because especially in, I think there's a question later on that might touch on this too, but we'll see if we answer too much of it. Especially in the early days, I didn't want to be a bother. I don't know how to talk about that. Like sometimes it's really tough where with parasocial relationships and the nature of people who are online a lot of the time and you watch the content, you're just like, I'm a friend. But I know sometimes this can get really weird when you're trying to like make plans and hang out with people outside of stuff like that. So I'm just never going to try and be around or ask to be in things. And then you kind of always get up in your own head when you're like, okay, what is my position? What is my relationship in here? When is it acceptable to ask to be in a thing that I want to be there? When am I overstepping things? And then always being way too conservative and then stepping back and then being like, okay, I'm in. Am I in? I have another job on the outside. Oh God. So there you go. That was my insight for somebody who's been around a lot longer, and I think that's only recently gone away.
It's comforting to know that is the feeling of like, okay, so I'm doing things, but I'm also doing my own things. But like, am I allowed to like pitch? Like, am I allowed to make a suggestion, or like, am I asking to be in too many things? Oh God, I don't know. But that it's just like at the end of the day, it's like, no, if we didn't want you to do things, we probably wouldn't ask you to do all these things. And it's always in your head. Yay!
And fundamentally, the way that people sort of get more involved is by saying, hey, I could do that. Like that traditionally, that is how it has worked.
Yeah.
And I mean, like with Serge, specifically, like you were, without specifics, you were working in tech, and then you were like, because you were like, this is what I ought to be doing, and then you did not enjoy that particular
I really
gig that
didn't.
you were at. And then that's when I was like, hey, if you're between things, can I get you to help produce this show in the meantime, which was Road Quest, and you did an amazing job with that. And then you've like really ramped up your own content creation since then, and now you don't have to work in tech.
So just to speak to that for a second, it was very interesting. In 2013, I quit my job in coffee and went and toured the world with Joe to be like, okay, I need a hard break, need to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And then as I was traveling, my friend May was just like, you could work in tech. Everyone's working in tech. Learn to program. And I was like, I should work in tech. That's so simple. And then I just like busted my ass for 2 or 3 years, online courses, networking people, trying to do anything, got in a ground level job, worked my way up, did the startup thing, wore 14 hats. And I was like, I'm finally in, just like sweating and covered in scars. It was like, and I don't want to talk bad about it because obviously it's a great industry a lot of people like, but it wasn't what it was sold to me for. It wasn't like, we have 17 types of cereal and like, here's a free gym pass and here's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I wasn't even getting paid that well. And it was interesting and parts of it were rewarding, but like the effort to get in versus that. So when the hard sell was like, hey, this content creation thing you've also been doing on the side for 5 years? What if you had an opportunity to do that full time? That was not a hard ask.
There's no way to say this without sounding like a tremendous dig on people who do work in tech, many of whom are friends and are great people. But you are far too of a gregarious people person who's like out there and being, thrives on, being friendly and hanging out with people and like interacting and doing stuff, to be in like an office tech job environment. That's not you.
There was a very interesting discrepancy between myself and the other project managers in the last company I worked at, because they would show up in suits. And I would show up in like my hoodie and my jeans and slippers, and I'd get into the boardroom and I'd take my slippers off and I'd be like, all right, let's talk. And then they'd be like, who is this joker? I'm like, well, I'm at a tech company. I'm not at a bank. Like, what's happening here? What? I feel our expectations are very different as to what you want me to do. My work is professional. I'm going to get everything done, but oh God, am I that person in like Silicon Valley that shows up at a board meeting in rollerblades and you're just like, isn't
West Coast office.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, I brought Fruity before we start our meeting, but you have to finish it before you can talk.
I kind of took us on a derail there. Apologies.
Oh, it's fine. So then the third part of the question is, and Graham, as a founder, what has it been like getting to work with all these different talented people over the years? It's been great. Like, here's the thing. I've talked about this before. I don't have a social life outside of Loading Ready Run. It's part of the reason that the pandemic's been so hard. But it's like, all of the people at Loading Ready Run are my friends, and I have other friends out who don't work at Loading Ready Run, and I never see them. Right? I only see the people who I work with, right? And so it's like, that's terrific, right? That's wonderful. And I mean, obviously, as we've said before, like if there has to be an end goal, it would be to be so self-sufficient that we could give everyone a full-time job with great pay that just lets them be creative and do whatever they want to do in a fulfilling way. And we're not there yet, obviously. But if we can't be there, at least we can be in the position that we are, where we get to be like, hey, Wheeler, come and be on our podcast, come and be in our content. Also, everyone check out Wheeler. Like it at least we can be a little bit of a rising tide kind of thing, I hope, is at least how that's been working out. So, there's that.
Yes.
Yeah, right. I guess I'm reading the questions. Yes, sorry. For all of you, would you ever consider doing a Dice Friends of the Theros D&D set from Joy Brisson? I just brought the source book home to read it.
Is that like a real official WotC thing that's out now? Is really?
Yeah, it's similar to the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. Mm-hmm. It's called like Odysseys and Heroes or something. It's not a campaign. It's a setting source book for running D&D 5th edition campaigns in the world of Theros. And we've got Dice Friend stuff planned for some time, and I am too busy right now. Mm-hmm. But I would love at some point in the future to actually like run a Theros campaign. I think that would be a blast.
Did they rework all the classes? Like, instead of warrior, are you a hoplite? And they just slightly shifted, like there's no ogres and said you're a minotaur or stuff like that.
So there's the different races that are all from like the Magic cards. There's Minotaurs and Tritons and I don't know if you can actually play a Dryad, but there certainly are a lot of enemies in the back of the book. And like it's sort of the conceit is like everyone are heroes, right? So you can be whatever class you want, but everyone is a hero, and you have a deity. One of the Theros pantheon from the cards, who is like your deity, and that sort of affects things in different ways. And you can not have a deity. It is unusual, but there's always opportunity for a player to do that sort of thing. And you get to go off on an odyssey, and I'm like, this is great stuff. Like, I'm enjoying reading it.
Are you much of a D&D human, Wheeler?
The only pen and paper game I've played was like an evening where it was just like a one shot. We sat down, we knew the rules, and we played, and it was great. and I have never played any other kind of game like that since. And I really want to.
Oh, wow.
But it's also just like, when you don't know anything about anything, it's hard to find how to do that thing. Especially when you're in like if I'm streaming and I'll mention it offhand, there will be like 5 different people that each give a different way to start and a different rule set. And then all of a sudden you have people screaming about Pathfinder. And I'm like, what? No, Dungeons and Dragons, not Pathfinder. And they're like, you got to start with number 5 and then or 3.5, and there's just a bunch of numbers screaming at each other. So
What if-
okay, I'm going to step back.
Question for you, Wheeler. Is this like trying to get into anime in your 30s? You know what I mean? It's just like, see, if you get into anime and you're a kid, it's super easy. But if there's decades of built-up understanding and everything, and somebody's like, oh yeah, just start with JoJo, someone else can be like, no, you idiot, don't start with JoJo. Start with Inuyasha. Or like, I don't know.
It's like, honestly, I think the better one is like, it's getting into baking bread beyond like a very entry-level mindset. Right? It'd be on like, all right, so you know now how to bake a loaf of bread, just like a normal easy peasy loaf. And then you're like, hey, what's the better way to move on from this point? And then you just have like sourdough. This is the flour you use. You need to do this overnight. No, you idiot. You do this. And like, you need to buy this equipment. Because with like anime or something, I think there's more of a like, if someone's just asking like, hi, me no anime, please give, then you can just be like, oh, here are the 4 shows that everybody will tell you to watch, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, it's everybody's, the first words that leave someone's lips is like, Cowboy Bebop. But like,
Mononoke.
I mean,
yeah. I think you
Bebop
need
is
that
great,
extra,
though.
like, yeah, exactly. Like, they're not
So
that, they're all good, but you need that little, like, added bit of like personal preference, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, it's tricky to get to when you're to avoid getting into the situation, which it sounds like is what people are talking to you about when they talk about D&D. Of it's not like with anime. There's certain things. There's also way less buy-in with something like anime. But
Yeah,
you can be like, these are the shows that just they hold up. They're good classic shows, but really you should just start watching like whatever. Whereas I think with D&D, when someone's like, oh well, you should start with D&D 3.5, it's like no. Someone new should not start with D&D 3.5. You started with D&D 3.5 and that was your course through D&D, and that worked out great for you. But someone new who's joining the game now should look at 5th edition, the most recent edition that they're actively supporting, because it's also more user friendly. 5th edition's actually really good. There was some drama around 4th edition and some changes made there, but the point is that I think if someone's listening to this, or even for yourself, I think if someone's looking at getting into tabletop role-playing games now, I think that D&D is like, it's meant to be the entry point, right? And then you can go off and get into like, like vampire or I don't know. I mean, like paranoia, all the stuff that we play on Dice Friends. You should come on Dice Friends sometime.
Ooh.
I'd love to.
Learn
we have
on
that
camera.
Again, we have that planned for some distance in the future, but
maybe some type of supposed theoretical Theros D&D campaign.
Next question for Serge. Is there anything LRR related from the days before you... I guess this could apply to Wheeler as well. From the days before you joined LRR that you wish you could have been a part of from day 4?
I mean, I think I touched on this a little bit in the early days. I was trying harder not to get in the way, which is a weird thing. It was never, I don't know. I never really had a big feeling of FOMO of shows. Right. Because it wasn't like, oh, I don't know anything about improv. Put me on this improv bit. That little bit of stage fright would just be like, nope. So It was always sort of this other thing. It was every time I was invited to be on everything, I was thrilled, but I never felt like I was missing out because I guess the important thing to state here is being friends with you was never my end goal was never to have a job.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how else to put that. It wasn't like, great, I'm going to befriend this Graham fellow and then I'll get my in on the internet. And so I don't know. Maybe that's a weirder thing of looking at the relationship. It was sort of an organic thing of become friends with people. My friends need a hand. Now I'm on a show. I don't. Wheeler, you got anything to add on that? I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, to kind of tie into that, like the only thing that really came to mind was, I guess, even after I had been doing North 100 and I had appeared on some random streams by this time, but like the only thing that ever came to my mind of like, God, I really want to get onto one of these was the PPR. And that was only after I had started streaming and gotten my stream to a level where I'm like, I am big enough that I feel like I can have an audience and go on the PPR and people go, oh, that's Wheeler. And then people that don't know me go, who Wheeler? Me want watch. But it wasn't like, if I saddle up to the Stark fellow, maybe I'll get in his good books and like sending bundles of like dilly bars to Turner's house or like whatever, that kind of thing like that. Yeah. But no, my goal was I was like, I want to get on the PPR. Because teaching people how to play Magic or like playing Magic in a way that like is more informative is my favorite thing in the world. And we got there. Hey,
you just gave me a mental image of like James reclining in a pile of papers and popsicle sticks.
Yeah,
from piles of dilly bars, just being like, I think we should get Wheeler on the PPR.
He's just like halfway through a Dairy Queen sponsored coma, and he's like, you should have given me mini blizzards instead. And just burps up like a popsicle stick.
I mean, I kind of do love the idea of like a very corrupt James who you have to give ice cream bribes to get favors to get anything done. It's just like, how does anything ever get done in LRR? And James is like, eye cream?
Yeah, that's the
but
narrative.
It's like more menacing.
That's the narrative. That's my narrative for James, is that it's just, I don't know why. He's become the corrupt politician. Graham is like Ebenezer Scrooge in all of my jokes. Like, Serge is Hank Scorpio. I don't know why that. I don't see all of you as villains, if that wasn't evidently clear. But it just like
Scorpio.
Just as a joke.
Billionaire.
Like just, I mean, nice.
From a Bond
friendly
movie.
Yeah, would
No,
try
Hank
to end the
Scorpio's-
world.
Hank Scorpio's from The Simpsons, Serge.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
parody of Bond
parody
films,
of a James villain. Oh.
And involved in tech.
See, this is what happens when you just skim a Wikipedia article. I see the name and then I see Bond, but I missed the word parody.
Gotcha. Oh, alrighty. The Anti-Muffin asks, I've loved watching the Crapload compilations and have come across a few crap shots I'd forgotten about, even though I rewatched them during the bracket. Are there any hidden crap shot gems you forgot about and rediscovered from the compilations? Yes, and now I can't remember any of them.
Well, I think that's a joke that comes up oftentimes when we talk about our own content is the goldfish-like memory we have in remembering anything that we've actually done.
Oh, yeah. No, it's like, I'm done that. Now I'm thinking of new content. I'm not thinking of the content we've made. That's for you to watch. I forgot how many Krog shorts we had done.
Yeah.
A lot of those. But yeah, there was a lot of little ones that are just sort of like, I don't remember this at all. Just little random sketches in around the moon base. They're just sort of like, do I know this one? I don't seem to recognize this one. There's one where Alex and Kathleen find a secret compartment in a camera bag and use it to store the special horse meth. And it ends up with them like knocked out on the couch, both wearing horse heads, and Beej comes in and is like disappointed dad at them, and like that's the crap shot. It's like, what on earth? Oh, actually, I remember one now. The one, I think it's called like The Prophecy or something, and it's Alex stumbling into the office wearing like a robe and all disheveled and like sunken eyes, and he's just like, I've done it. I've been to the peak of the mountain, and I've found out the secret, the true secret to comedy, the secret. And then Andy, I think, cuts him off and is like, timing? And then Alex is really upset. He's like, no, actually, the secret, and then it cuts. That's the end of the crap shot. It's just like, this is a good one. I've ruined it now. It's better in the original form.
That was pretty good delivery.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I thought I had watched most, because Joe and I actually enjoy watching a lot of
People often think that.
LRR content, yeah. And it's amazing when something comes out as frequently as the crap shots did, especially like 2 per week for ages, and then weekly for a while too, how you can just easily miss one, and then watching back through the compilations, like, I could have sworn I'd seen them all. What's this?
Yep. I guess that's it. So like, we don't have any. So the answer, I guess, Anti-Muffin, is yes. Can't think of any offhand. Next, we have hosting, judging, competing. What do you like to do most? Not the obvious MTG angle, but for anything else show/stream related, is there anything of them you like to do more?
Serge?
So I want to talk about the magic angle of the first question there, hosting, judging, or competing, because that's something I've got to do everything of. I mean, I get to do commentary on like the Highlander things that we do, especially when we're bringing the big tournaments. I also got to do some commentary for CFB, which was very interesting. Of course, I'm a judge, and most of my capacity for the PPRs is as a judge, and I also get to play as a player in the Friday Night Paper Fight. And I think that's actually the order I enjoy them in. It's just like, doing commentary was fascinating. Getting to talk about Magic, I've been enjoying a lot more. I think when I look at those 3 things, commentary is possibly the most fun and the lowest stakes, which is kind of weird. Of the 3, I put the most pressure on myself as a judge. And especially when I judge the PPR, the opportunity for me to make a mistake and then have a player take that mistake and bring it to their store or bring that to a tournament, and them being like, what? No, I know how the cards work. I saw a judge on the internet talk about it. This is the interaction. And they're like, oh no, turns out that judge is an idiot. And now you don't, just the knock-on effect of any mistake that I can make as a judge on one of these shows is so big that the margin for error I give myself is so small. And it's not to say I don't enjoy doing that, but it's way more fun just to kind of goof about and talk about plays. Playing is fun. Obviously, I wouldn't be into Magic if I still didn't enjoy that. But like, compared to the other 2, it's like, playing is already amazing, and everything else is just built on top of that.
So I agree with the commentary thing. You and I are on the same page. Commentary is it's the most fun thing that I think you can do. And especially when you get, for people like yourself and I that get way too ecstatic, dangerous levels of excitement over certain things that like
dangerously exciting.
Always they're not always going to be the most exciting naturally, or even to like the broadest audience, but because we get really into it, then the viewer is going to get really into it as well, right? And I think that, at least for me, when I did, commentary every time at the Highlander year end, I'm always like, God, I hope I always say I either want to win the whole thing or I want to lose early so that I can try and commentate. Been really bad at doing both of those things. I tend to stick to get to the finals and then lose, which is the worst outcome. But like, doing the CFB stuff, it's just, I don't know. I used to watch a lot of esports and like FGC stuff. And I think that is something I'd like to see more of in Magic commentary, like kind of this, sincere excitement, but at least some kind of self-awareness that you're watching cards, right? You're watching like digital cards, and just be like, oh, unbelievable, he played a mana dork, like that kind of thing. Judging, I've been doing it for God knows how long, or I was a judge for over about a decade, I want to say. I'm no longer one. But my favorite stuff was the TO side of it. So making sure that all the ducks are in a row, everything is going as according, and just making sure, you know, the event is running smoothly. And I think that for me, one of my personal strengths is that everything can be on fire, and somebody would run up to me and be like, Ben, oh my God, the building's on fire. Oh my God, what do we do? And it's like, well, I mean, we should probably put it out, huh? Just like, I just
put the fire out, forehead, get a blanket.
Well, I mean, not as much like, put it out. But just like, I tend to react very like, oh, okay, well, we should resolve this then. Like, the answer is clear then. We need to resolve this. And just to do it, I work well in those kind of situations. And to me, it's not much, but at the end of the day, just like getting tons of people going out and be like, thanks for the event. It was a blast. I can't wait to look for, you know, I look forward to the next one, like running pre-releases. So goddamn rewarding. And then like, every time I think I miss competing, like if I watch like an old SCG VOD, or I think about when, you know, I saw myself as good in at this game in like a competitive, like higher end competitive level, I'm like, God, maybe I should do that again. But I'm just too tired and old all the time. And I'm just like, that's a lot. That's it's so long.
Day 2 of a GP, you're like, I'm already tired from round 2 of day 1. What do you mean day 2?
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't want it. That's so much time. I don't want to do that. I rather help other people get prepared so that they do it, and then just be the dad on the sidelines. It's like, oh yeah, that's my boy. That's my boy right there. Yeah, exactly. I rather take that coaching kind of like cheering squad section.
What about you, G?
I mean, as far as Magic is concerned, I'm not a judge, so I don't, you know, like Magic specifically playing, I guess. But generally speaking, when you're talking about not just Magic, I love hosting things. I really enjoy sort of being a facilitator between someone else who is doing something or presenting something and the audience. I like whatever it is, if it is Magic or if it's, you know, like our stream where we're doing tech stuff, you know, like the times I've joined Ian on Tinker Tailor, which Ian does a great job hosting on his own. But I don't know. I think I enjoy doing it. I think I have good instincts for what, you know, sometimes someone might not necessarily take into account how something comes across to an audience, and allowing, you know, helping people out to explain, and like, now for the audience's benefit sort of thing, you know, that kind of aspect to it. I really enjoy doing that. I kind of like that a lot. So yeah, I don't know. I'll host anything. That's going to be a problem at some point.
Yep.
Mr. Twanzel asks, how much do you miss the pre-COVID Moonbase time? Oh, God, a lot. All the time.
Yeah.
Just,
moments like this are great.
yeah.
But I do miss seeing people in person and just sort of being like, who's hanging around the Moonbase now? Because, you know, it's less so now, but there is always a clubhouse aspect to it, and just sort of anyone can swing by and be like, hey, I was downtown, just thought I'd come by and say hi. And it's like, oh, cool. You know, and you know, like sometimes it'll be like, cool, well, we're in the middle of something, so hello, goodbye. But, you know, it's just like, oh, hey, come on in, have a seat. Let's talk about whatever. Like, oh, did you see the trailer for whatever dropped this morning? Let's put it up on the big TV and we'll all watch it. You know, I miss stuff like that a lot.
I didn't realize just how much of my socializing kind of just happened from the Moonbase.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I don't know. We don't do as much behind the scenes content as we used to do, and I think people think we're a lot more interesting than we are. But a lot of the behind the scene content would be all of us in the friend zone, sitting there quietly watching someone stream, or even just watching our own stream, Be like, oh, hey, look, like Ben and Adam are doing Let's Nope. Let's just sit in the friend zone and not speak and watch them stream. But you're doing it together, right? And then maybe eating some delicious downtown food from restaurants that you could walk into and get takeout from, as opposed to call ahead and get takeout from. Oh God, everything.
Jesus.
The world I'm painting.
I miss what it's done to my scheduling in a sense of like just being like, all right, well, that's another thing recorded, time to go. But the little chat afterwards or whatever. Yeah. And it could start as from something as like seemingly innocent of like, so you like that new card they showed? And then an hour later, it's like Alex and I slumped on the couch talking about like depictions of trauma and loss in modern anime as opposed to the like late 80s, early 90s era, like shouting at each other and be like, that's it. And like James is just in the middle, headphones on, like potentially asleep, but his eyes are kind of open on like a laptop, and he'll just be like, oh, well, that sucks. And they're just like, what? Oh, okay. Well, I guess he's up. Time to go. But just like, and then you like look at the phone. It's like, oh, okay, cool. It's 2:30 now. I was supposed to start my stream an hour and a half ago. And just, yeah. I mean, that sounds incredibly irresponsible and, you know, kind of bad, just losing time for stuff like that. But I don't know, just being able to like, you just have that like stream of consciousness talk, right? Because now you don't get that. You don't get that like coffee shop, oh, I ran into you, let's talk about this thing. So just like that kind of like, oh, we just happen to be in the same place and we revved each other up and now we're both late. Yeah.
Yep. And our last question from Daniel is, what's your favorite underrated movie?
Now let's start with Wheeler this time.
All right.
Okay.
Really?
So I have two because I didn't
Good,
know
'cause I have
if
two.
one of them. Yeah. Okay. Well, I actually had three.
This is always
Fun. I have four. I have four. Then do I hear
it's funny
five?
you mentioned that because my what I meant was I had 10.
See, the thing is, this is always a tricky question because no matter what we're going to say, right? No matter what we say, someone will be like, what do you mean underrated? That movie's amazing and everyone knows it. And it's like, well...
Yeah, I have this descriptor that I use, my husband and I use, called goon movies, which refers to films. Typically, they'll have like a 7.3 to 7.9 rating on like IMDb that just like movie nerds and like especially on like forums and stuff all know about, all talk about, all love. Yeah. And so anytime you mention it as underrated, you'll get them be like, oh, well, somebody hasn't seen the 243 page thread. And it's just like, okay, but like, I get, does my mom know about this? Like,
oh no.
Would the person at like the water cooler know about this? So like House or Hausu from 1977, the Japanese horror / comedy, mostly horror film.
Never heard of it.
Oh my god, it's my favorite film of all, favorite non-Blade Runner film of all time. It's so good and so just like you watch this and you're like, why is this happening? Like how was this the like, oh yeah, that's great. No, we don't need to reshoot that. We could just keep going. And it's just like the effects that are used and just the pacing of everything and the humor and the god, like if you look up the posters for it, that should be enough of a selling point from that, just like the movie posters. If you haven't watched it, for the love of God, please watch it, especially with Halloween coming around. And then my backup, but that is one that is like picked up speed, especially within the past decade, as like this is a cult film everybody should watch. My backup was The Cell by Tarsem Singh from 2001, 2000.
We were just talking about The Cell on the B-Shed stream last night.
Yeah, that movie is just, it's just so pretty.
It's
just
amazing.
really interesting and great to watch. And
Yeah.
I did not. I actually I thought about it and I was like, oh, it's probably people probably know about this one or liked it, and I checked it out and it just got slammed by critics everywhere. I'm like, oh, but I mean, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's really cool and good, and it's a good evening. It's a good evening.
All right. Serge, you want to go next, or you want me to go next?
I'll go next. I have
All right.
two, and they're both a little bit more modern than a 1970s horror comedy like Wheeler's. My first one is, of course, the 2008 Wachowski's Speed Racer.
Yeah.
I thought that movie was amazing.
Yeah.
I thought it was so good. It was like visual candy. Oh, just chef kiss. And I don't know why people hated it as much as they did, but I was like, this is, as someone who grew up watching Speed Racer, I was all about that movie.
So this is exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about, because I think you'll get people saying, "What do you mean? Everyone knows that Speed Racer is amazing," because people have looped back around on it, right? Like,
oh, do they like it again, or do they hate it again?
So, like, Scott Pilgrim, right? That movie's phenomenal. I love it. I loved it when it came out.
That was going to be my second one.
Yeah.
No way, and I love it now. It was roasted by critics at the time, but now everyone talks about it as like, oh yeah, Scott Pilgrim. Obviously, that movie's great. Everyone knows that Scott Pilgrim's great, and it's like,
And that soundtrack.
yeah. Was that honestly your second
That was
one?
honestly going to be my second one, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Because I thought that, and again, let me Google that really quickly. When did the Scott Pilgrim movie come out? Because Speed Racer was 2008.
I think Scott 2007, 2009, maybe
it's
2009.
more recent
Really?
than maybe.
It's an Edgar Wright film, which leads me to believe
2010.
2010.
Yeah, so about 2 years apart. And they felt fairly similar. Like they're both visually very exciting. I don't know. I loved both of those movies. And yeah, if I had to answer another one, probably Hackers.
Oh, Hackers is a quality film. That is.
Hackers is great.
Yeah.
But now I've said three, so I'll stop talking.
Hack the
All right.
Planet,
Well, so I mean, I've talked before, I think on an askLRR even, about The Imposters, which is a movie that Paul and I both love very much, and I just think a lot of people don't know about it. So if you haven't seen it,
The Imposters.
yeah, with Oliver Platt and Stanley Tucci, and it's just, God, so many people. Isabella Rossellini, Alfred Molina, Steve Buscemi, Tony Shalhoub, like so many. It's an ensemble cast. It's great. It's just it's a farce, but there's so many terrific little moments in it. But I've talked about that one a lot. So instead, I'm going for two examples of foreign cinema. So it's like, here's again, this is what I'm talking about, because one of the ones that you should really watch is a movie called Tampopo, which is in the Criterion collection. So it's like, is this underrated? I don't know, but people probably haven't heard of it. I can't really
I've never heard of it.
explain what Tampopo is about.
Okay.
A lady runs a noodle shop and truck drivers are cowboys. Just go watch Tampopo. Don't worry about it. Go in and just let it sort of wash over you.
That feels like something that people may have figured. Like, Tampopo is the kind of film where it's just like it kick-started a certain style of film, right? Like, again, what is it, like ramen westerners, where like basically they took a pre-existing term or like, oh, this is now this is the splitting point or whatever, and so it's just brought up a bunch, and it feels like a Wikipedia movie where people are like, oh, I've seen this name pop up and I know it's very good. How is this underrated? No, I've never watched it, but that kind of
exactly stuff. You should really, it is impossible to describe. You should really experience it.
Yeah.
And then the other one, from the other end of the spectrum, is a Jackie Chan movie called Gorgeous. And I recommend Gorgeous because it's not a Jackie Chan movie that people talk about. It's not Rumble in the Bronx. It's not Drunken Master. It's not even like, I don't know, like what's the really early one, like Snake and Eagle's Shadow, right? Like, it's not one of the marquee, well-known Jackie Chan movies, right? But it's just great. It's just really good, and it's generally speaking very wholesome. Like the conflict gets resolved and then after that is the like final boss fight, and it's between him and a henchman of the bad guy, because they didn't really, both parties did not feel like they had had a proper fight before earlier in the movie when they fought earlier, and they were like, we just want to actually see which one of us is really better, so can we do the fight properly for real? Like, that's the final fight, is just like a respect kind of thing, and it's like peak Jackie Chan, like great prop work, just really clean, like excellent kung fu, and it's just it's a fun one. I think Paul and I rented it from a video store once. Just we were like, oh, Jackie Chan movie we've never heard of. Let's watch this, and it's like, you know what? It's just fun. So it's from the era when like some random British guy was dubbing all of his dialogue.
Big sigh.
Oh,
I do
man.
I do
City
definitely
Hunter.
miss going to just the movie store and being like, ooh, random Jet Li movie. Sure, why not? What else am I going to do this weekend? Right? And you just like load up 3 or 4 movies. You just walk through an aisle and you're like, I'll take one of these and one of these, and maybe I won't even watch them all.
You don't get the same experience from Netflix. I'm
you
sorry,
really
by the
don't.
way, for my cat.
There's like,
if you can hear him.
It's wild that if you went across like the 5 people that influenced who I turned into as an adult, like over my life, like in that top 5, there's got to be the like old school otaku, like Blockbuster on Hillside manager.
The person there was just like, here you go, kid, watch this.
Yeah, he just like loaded, like whoever decided what films got put up in like the anime section there. It just like was either nobody was watching how it happened or whatever, and just like load it up on stuff. And God bless my mother for not like knowing the difference between like Mazinger and like Neon Genesis Evangelion, and like just being like, oh look, it's robots. And my mom's like, yeah, sure, why not?
I remember the video rental store near our place. We actually filmed there in some early Loading Ready Run videos. The place called Yo Video. Oh yeah. And they had like, you know, like Ghost in the Shell on VHS with a sticker that was like not for kids. Because it's like, it's really violent and there's titty. And it's like, this isn't, because people would be like, oh, cartoons, sure. And they'd be like,
yep.
Just so you know. So obviously we rented those. And dude, turns out Ghost in the Shell is great. But yeah, the video store experience is, you know, I am not one of those people who will ever be like, you know, things. Calm down, cat. I will feed you in a moment. Who is like, you know, things were better back when X was the case, and kids today, blah 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 blah. You know, but this was something that I enjoyed. That is no longer the case.
You can only truly enjoy this on Laserdisc.
Oh Christ! So I'm coming at it from that lens, right? It's not like a loss to the future of society, but it's like I do miss that.
It kind of has that like that thrift shop feel of like you're just like kind of inserted there and you're just browsing around and you might find like this hidden treasure, sort of like, oh my god, like I've never heard of this. Oh my god, like how have I never heard of this? And pick that up. Instead of just like, don't care, like sitting on a streaming platform.
Yeah. Well, that I think will do it. Ask, you know what? Hit us up other times if you want to ask us for more fun movies to watch. We got time now. To watch stuff anyway. Except I haven't been watching anything, so you know, who knows. Until next time, that's been Wheeler. Wheeler, where can people hit you up to
Twitch
give you bad anime opinions?
Bad anime opinions? If you want to drop bad anime opinions, it's twitch.tv/Serge Jaeger.
Nice, good.
No, twitch.tv/Benjamin_Wheeler, and then on Twitter @BWheelerMTG.
And Serge.
Serge Jaeger on Twitch, Serge Jaeger on Twitter, Serge Jaeger. And
I'm on Twitter @Graham_LRR. And thank thanks to all of you, as we mentioned, for your support of us, either through being a member on this channel or on our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, or, as we always say, just by being here, just by watching. That helps a huge amount. Tell your friends. We got to where we are by just making things that we like and hoping that other people like them too. So hopefully you like this as well. Thanks to Paul for running tech on this, and thanks to Heather for organizing all of the questions and doing general production on the show. And that'll do it. Talk to you next time on askLRR.